now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our pastor, Msgr Craig Harrison.
Now I'm ready. Take a deep breath. Because tonight I'm going to talk about being broken but salvageable. Because we're all broken and we've all been saved. Last month I talked about wellness, and I kind of give a little brief thing of what we're doing in our parish about mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual wellness. And now I want to focus really on emotional wellness, because you all look like you're emotional wrecks. It's when I believe that we are well that Jesus can work the most through us. And it's when we can connect most with him. So maybe in your life you have gone through a difficult time. Maybe you've gone through a divorce, a failed marriage, the death of a spouse, the death of a child. Maybe you've gone through an addiction, or someone you love has gone through addiction. Gone through abuse, even as a child. Maybe you're grieving right now. And all of these are really true situations in our life. I don't know anybody that doesn't have an experience that is not hard for us to carry. And yet sometimes, in not dealing with it, we never become well. We never become emotionally fit. And then we're no good to anyone. And people go through relationship after relationship, or they never grieve, or they never do that. And I'm not the expert on this, but I'm learning. This past week, I went through my attic. I have a big attic, and I haven't been up there. And I have their stuff from my sister Nancy, who died, my mom's stuff, my dad's stuff, and Father Ralph's stuff. The death room. And when they died, I took their things and I just put them up there. Maybe it wasn't healthy, maybe it wasn't. Some of them, it's their clothes and all kinds of things. And I never went through them. And so I got in the cleaning mode. And when I get in the cleaning mode, watch out. So I call all my kids and everybody and say, you guys got to come and help me. And so we begin. And I sat in a chair in the attic, and they would bring me boxes. And I went through them. It was gut-wrenching. I thought I had grieved. I thought I had done all kinds of things. Oh my gosh, I would pull up one thing and I would just start sobbing. And then they would pull things away from me. Or you looked at that too long. We got more boxes. They didn't want to spend the whole day. We were 6 hours up there. So I'm going through this, and it was amazing. When I was done, I was exhausted. I was spent. And yet, it was one of the most healing things I have done in a long time. My sister Nancy sings, just to touch those things. She's been gone 10 years. And I had her megaphone from when she was a cheerleader to all this other stuff that she's had. And some of it I wanted to save for her son. Jack's now 18. And I wanted to save those things for him. And so I reboxed them and I labeled everything and put it there. And some things I go, this is garbage. And some things I said, I want that downstairs. I want to look at that. I like that. And then I went through my dad's. And it was fun to see these things. And I took the albums and I go, I'm going to go through those at another time. Because every time I opened a photo album, I couldn't stop but slowly go through pages, so my kids would come and yank it from me. And this. I'm glad I had them. But it was a great thing, and what I realized was, even though it was painful, it was healing. You know how much healing I feel is going in my life. Last night it was great. I got to say the opening prayer for Laura Bush was in town for her, and she spoke, and I got to sit at the table with her, and I felt like, wow, this is really cool. She was an amazing lady. But what was really amazing to me is how many people came up to me that I haven't seen for a while, because there were 512 guests or something, and they'd say to me, man, you look really good. And some would say, are you using Botox? And I felt like saying, no, I'm getting well. I'm sleeping. I'm dealing with issues. I'm feeling things. Nothing has changed in my life. My schedule is just as crazy as anything. But I am getting well. So when I share this with you, it's not about guilt trips, but it's about the joy that I am feeling even in my own life right now. I still got a load of funerals and death and tragedies. One of the girls in our office, Shayla, she's the girl they found that died up in Kernville. She worked in our office for the last year, and I mean these are people that you see every day and you do, and it's devastating. And yet I'm looking here and going, like, Lord, the grace you're giving me, because I'm not pressing everything down. I'm not suppressing it. I'm not doing this. I want to experience life. And I found that I'm so much better with other people. I'm more patient. I'm more joyful. My staff's like, what's wrong with you? No, and I'm like, it's what's right with me now. I am 58 and a half years old, and I don't know if I've ever felt as good and free as I feel right now. And I attribute it to dealing with emotional stuff. And so I invite you to be on this journey. What have you been carrying for years? What are you hurting? What is doing it? Because we need help. I haven't done any of this alone. I am never afraid to tell people, yes, I see a therapist. I've told you before, she's not any good. I've seen her for 30 years. And now I'm having breakthrough, I see a holistic doctor. I see my regular doctor. I see a spiritual director. I find support. I have a priest support group that I go to. I'm not doing this on my own. God didn't intend us to deal with all of this on our own. But sometimes when we hold on to grudges and pain and hurt, I was thinking of this woman who recently came into my office and told me she was talking just about this hatred she has for her ex-husband. And I kept thinking, like, boy, her wounds are fresh. Look at this. I've never everything. To find out later on she's been divorced 25 years and she's remarried, and I thought, this poor man she's married to, she can't let that guy go. Let the beast out of the cage. Let him go. But I would have thought it's been 1.5 years since he did this. But she's living there. I have people that grieve. Grieving never ends. Anybody who's ever lost a child, they will grieve that child till they see that child again in heaven. That's how it's going to work. Grieving a spouse, that can be different. I asked my mother when my father first got diagnosed and he was dying, I go, Mom, you and Dad have been married 59 years. If Dad goes, do you think you might ever get married again? She goes, just like this, without even a breath. No, I did this one time. That's enough. But I'm also excited when I see women meet someone new, and it's different. It's never the same. And I see love and life continue. I know I'm still grieving my parents. I know I'm still grieving my sister. And I know I haven't dealt with everything, and sometimes I even get angry and frustrated. But I want to ask the questions of myself now. I want to say, why am I angry? What am I angry about and who am I angry? Because guess what happens with anger? Do you know who we take anger out on? We always take it out on the person we love the most. If you have children, anybody here have high school children? Good luck. Because when they get hurt at school or they're angry in this, you know who gets it? Mom always gets it. They always do. You had nothing to do with why their girlfriend dumped them or why this is going on, why they didn't get accepted to this club, but their mood and their anger will come on you. Do you know why? Because they know you will never stop loving them. And I tell parents of kids with addictions or kids that have emotional and behavioral issues, I go, no, thank God that they love you so much that they're taking it out on you. Because that's what happens in love. So I always look at like, why am I taking out my anger on this person or on my kid? One of my sons I called yesterday, and I was in a good mood, but I'm driving home and he said, hey, I saw a picture of you and Laura Bush. And I go, yes, my good friend Laura. And he goes, hobnobbing with the famous. And I go, yeah, it was really nice. And I said, she was really nice. And he said something, and I commented on his thing to me, and I was kind of direct. He's going through a divorce and this, and I kind of reprimanded him a little bit on his anger. And then I was like, I was so great, I caught myself and I go, you know, no. Go ahead. He had to get some anger out, and so he's getting it out on me, and I just let him. And while the whole time he talked, I don't even remember what he was saying, because while he was talking, I was going, Lord, I just lift him up to you right now. Lord, I'll take his anger. He needs to get it out. Let him get it out. And you know what? He's taking it on me. Why? Not because I've done anything, but because he knows I'll never leave him. I'm not going anywhere. I love him. I need to look at one of my friends, and I think she's here. She just told me recently the definition of anger is unmet needs. And I like that. Very simple. Unmet needs. You know, that's what it is. I need love. I need support. I need comfort. I'm not getting it, so guess what? I'm angry. And so when I start looking at people, today I had a drug addict here, and my heart crushes because I've known this kid since he was a child. Some of you might remember when we had the bombing across the street, and a couple children were killed. Well, this is a relative of one of them, and he was there when I was the first responder, and he was there, and it was a traumatic thing. These children were killed. And years later now, he's suffering from addiction and schizophrenia. And he's out there, and he was telling me how he put the toaster in the microwave so he could watch Netflix. And I mean, it's just stuff's all over the place. And then he started getting really angry. I'm trying to divert him, so I'm saying this, I haven't seen your mom. Where's your mom been? It's getting anger and anger and anger. And then I thought, he has an unmet need because he hasn't seen his mom or dad. He's been on the streets. He's doing this. So instead, I just diverted it, and I said, let's go for a walk. So we walked around, and we just talked about how beautiful the trees and this. And it was amazing, amazing how calm he got. And then I put my hand on his shoulder, and I go, you know, you're a wonderful human being. And all of a sudden, it was like, this tension all over his body, he just let it go down. I said, you're a good kid. You know, God loves you. And all of a sudden, it was almost his entire demeanor transformed right there. And I thought, guess what? I'm meeting right now, just this moment. It didn't last long. I'm meeting one of his unmet needs. 15 minutes later, he was telling me about the rock people that were coming after him. It didn't last long, but I found that there was a way because All this kid needs is love and healing, because he's broken. He was broken the day I looked up at his face and he saw me holding his little brother dead, and I looked up and he was only 12 or 13, and he's looking at me in just shock. He's broken. But when we can get in touch with our brokenness, we can get in touch with others' brokenness, with their brokenness, and we can help them. Why do you think when a mother loses a child, and we have a support group of mothers who have lost children, they get it. If you're not a mother who's lost a child, you can think you would understand, but you don't know like a mother who's lost a child. And an alcoholic, their best friend is another recovering alcoholic. And all we can hope in our life is that we connect to people's brokenness. So I know that I have to figure out my anger and my grief and my triggers. There were triggers, even with Father Ralph. When I went through Father Ralph's stuff, I was going, oh, I remember when Father Ralph did this and this. And oh, Father Ralph and I mean, he was my mentor, but sometimes we would just, anybody here know Father Ralph? You know, yes, exactly. All the old cronies. Yep, well, we knew him. We worked with him. We survived him. You know, he would come in, and I'm the pastor, and then he would just tell me, no, you're going to do this. And we would clash. But I was looking at things, and then all of a sudden, I go, what am I angry at? I'm angry because I didn't like somebody else telling me what to do. Even though he was usually right, I still didn't like it. I've been hurt in my life, like you. I've been hurt by brother priests. I've been hurt by people in my parish. I've had almost everything you can think about said about me. And it hurts because I take things personally. When I adopted children, I did not know what I was doing. I tell people think it was, oh, this humanitarian thing. I was so needy, I needed 8 of them. When we got a new bishop, he asked me if I was adopting anymore, and I told him I got fixed. I wish I could tell you it was because I'm this caring one, but when the older I've gotten, I realized that I was needy. I needed love. I needed that. And guess what? They needed it too. And somehow God made this thing work. My kids will tell you, I swore. My father had a loud voice, and he would yell, and I swore, I will never yell at my children. My dad, when he talked to you, he wanted you to look at him, and you could ask any ball player that ever played for my dad. My dad put his finger in your chest and would go like this. People have dents where my dad would do this. And he did it the same with his children. And I can still remember the day when my son Roy, he was about 12, he was sitting, I took him to Lyle's Beauty College because his hair was down and over his eyes and you couldn't even see his face, and I couldn't afford really haircuts at that time, so I took him there and I told the girl, cut it all off, cut it off. So he's sitting there and she's talking to him and she's cutting and cutting and cutting and turns it around. You can see his face. But he had the look that he was going to kill. How dare me do this? Now let me know, just shoot ahead. The next day when he went to school, all the girls thought he was the most cute thing in the world because now they could see his face and all this. But that day he was so angry, so now it was my turn to get my hair cut. So he said, can I go get my Coke out of the car? And I said, sure. I had borrowed somebody's truck because my car was in the shop. And when we were walking out after my haircut, I go, and the truck's not there. It's over there. He's 12 years old. He did Brody's all over the parking lot, going like this in this person's car. And so what did I do? I went right up to him and I'm going, you have how dare, I'm hitting him in his chest with my finger, and I'm yelling at him, and I was like, I am my Father incarnate. To this day, my son will be 50 in September. He will tell that story to every person he meets. People, when they've hurt me, it pushes every button I have. I'm a priest. I believe in forgiveness. I believe people should suffer before I forgive them. I'm working on that. Therapy helps. I look at my children, and they had to go through, many of them from horrible, horrible childhoods, and they had to learn to move forward and forgive and deal with anger. And I can tell you to this day, I think my sons are the best fathers I have ever seen. And most of that because they did not have fathers as children, and then I got to come into their lives, and they learned that they would never want their child to go through what they went through. And they're the best dads. But if they didn't deal with their own anger, and let me tell you, who did they take their anger out? When parents tell me what their children do to them, I'm going, ha ha. How about taking them on a nice trip to the beach, saving every dime I could, broke, and I take them to the beach. A friend loans me their house. Who would loan a guy with 8 kids their house at the beach? And at night, I let them watch a movie, I got them pizza, and everybody, okay, you guys go to bed, and I go to bed, and you know that parental thing you do where you wake up, you're like, something's wrong? And then I go in and I see, oh, they're all in bed. It doesn't seem right. They're all sleeping in bed, and then I go up to the first bed, and there's nothing in it. It's just their clothes wadded up, and then there's sheets tied out the upstairs window, and they all climbed out the window. And from 2 to 5 in the morning, I'm running around Newport Beach collecting children that are running around. It wasn't until they were adults they even told me what they've done in my rectories over the years. I've asked them not to tell me more. I'm perfectly fine with my own. My son Billy, when he was in college at St. Mary's, I would call, and I loved it because he did it for me. If you called his answering machine, it said, hello, I'm sorry I'm not here to take your call. I'm either in the library or at church. Leave your message. He wasn't at either one, but it made me feel good. So part of emotional healing is identifying what the problem is. Why aren't we well? Now, I get the worry. You have an illness. Somebody you love does. Somebody you love has Alzheimer's, sickness. I get it, but you know what? We are so much better for them when we are well. And Henry Nouwen, he's one of my favorite authors. He wrote a book called The Wounded Healer. And in his book, he explains that we cannot help others heal their wounds until ours are healed. And I'm on this journey. I'm on this march that I want a parish full of wellness. I need you to help me so we can heal this world. I was at a meeting today for 2 hours with the Sheriff's Department. Then I had a 2-hour meeting with San Joaquin Hospital. And we found that our largest problem in our community right here in Bakersfield right now is mental illness. The amount of people on the streets that are mentally ill. Well, guess what? The only way they're going to get well is if we're well. But if all the mentally ill people are sitting right here, God help us. And I see a number of you. You're close. St. Paul said to the Corinthians, and I love it, because he talks about the thorn on his side. And I think the thorn in our side is not dealing with our own emotional issues. He says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest in me. When we are not afraid to admit what is, I say to people, I still don't know why people make appointments with me. They go, we came in, we want some advice or counseling. I'm like, do you know who you're talking to? If you want to compare problems, sure. If you want to know, but I don't have any great knowledge, but I do tell you this is, I'm humble enough to know that I'm messed up. And if you want to meet any of my friends, they're as messed up as me or a little bit worse, so I feel better about myself. Because I'm looking at some of my friends out here. But think of that. My grace is sufficient for you. His grace is sufficient. But we have to boast of our weakness. What is it? Are we afraid? Are we lonely? Are we scared? I've had a visitor. I've had one of my goddaughters and her two sons moving to Bakersfield, and their house wasn't quite done yet, and they were going to go stay in a hotel. I go, no, you're not. You guys come and stay with me. So they've been staying with me for a few weeks. I can't wait till she watches this, because she's not here tonight, but she's going to watch it on there. She is terrified of everything. Okay? She's in my house. My house is totally secure in this. If I go out the front door to get the newspaper in the morning, because I leave about 4:30, and I get the newspaper, and I go next door, my next door neighbor, and I get hers, and I throw it on her porch, because I see her going out there cold and walking down the stairs, and she's older, so I go throw it on her porch, and then I come back and get mine. By the time I come back, my alarm is back on. And I walk in the door and I hear this beep, beep, beep. You got 30 seconds to get, and I'm running across the house to the pad because I'm going, I've only been out of the house for 30 seconds. Fear is something we have to give to God. Anxiety, stress. Those of you that take care of elderly parents or sick parents, it's a tough thing. It is a tough thing. I didn't do well. I had all kinds of bad experiences, but when I look back, I did the best I could do. And I sleep well at night knowing I took good care of my parents. But you know what? I also went to the Alzheimer's clinic to learn what to do. And I met with caregivers, and I learned what to do so I could do it. I wasn't afraid to get help and support. It's scary to me sometimes in my own life when I try to talk about my own weaknesses. I have fear. I don't like people putting me on a pedestal. It scares me when, instead of people saying, that Father Craig, he's just such a holy man. See, you laugh because you never hear that one. I heard it. You guys don't even have to. You're mean and rude. I'm hurt again. I'm going back. Dear Lord, I just forgive them. No, but sometimes people say, like, he's a rock star. And I'm going, oh, that is the worst thing you could say to a priest, because what am I supposed to be? A humble servant of God. And so I worry that people put me up there sometimes or think that I have answers or I do that. And I want to say, no, I can tell you this is I love the Lord and I want to serve the Lord. And I'm realizing that I do a better job when I'm just myself with all my warts and that, and I do it, than when I try to be so perfect. I'm famous for my story, and some of you have heard it, but I'm sharing it tonight because it's my favorite story of being humbled. Because right before I was ordained, I got to do my first service, the rosary for a funeral. And it was at Our Lady of Victory Church in Fresno with Monsignor Wayne Hayes. And to me, Monsignors were always old men, mean. I'm getting there. And I'm OCD, so it had to be perfect. So I had my robes washed and cleaned and ironed, and I practiced all day in the podium. I taped down all the prayers of the Creed, the Our Father, the Hail Mary. I put a rosary in every pocket, so no matter where I reached, I could find a rosary. And I'm ready to begin, and Monsignor Hayes says, now, Craig, relax. And he says to me, "Don't worry, I'll be standing right here watching." All right. Lord, he puts on the clip-on mic, and I go in, and I walk halfway down the church and realize the podium's gone with my notes. And so I turn around, and I go back and said, "It's gone." He goes, "We don't do that here. The body's laid out here with an open casket for the rosary." And he goes, "You just kneel down over the body and do the rosary there." So I went back down, and I'm terrified. Will I get the right creed or say the Pledge of Allegiance? What's going to happen? Because when I'm nervous, it's hard. God was so good. Oh my gosh, you should have seen me. Here I was. Oh, it was holy. I walked down holy. I kneeled holy. I'm looking over at this guy's body. And I'm not, at that time, I wasn't even ordained yet. And so I'm not comfortable with bodies. Today, okay. Then, no. And I start to pray, and God is so good. I get the right creed. I get the right things. I'm on third decade. Third decade, I can tell you right now. Third decade, second bead. Even when I pray the rosary every night, and I get in the morning, and I get to that second bead, it reminds me. And I'm praying, and all of a sudden, my beads aren't moving. And I look down, and his hands are like this, and the beads are on his fingers. They just had dropped down in. So I just gently pulled. And his hands came up just... Okay, that's not the worst part. It scared me. I yelled, "Shh," as loud as I could. I thought I had raised him from the dead. My first rosary. True story. I'm still in recovery. 36 years later, I'm still in recovery. And I tell you that, and today I laugh about it because I was so worried about the things that weren't important. I was worried about doing everything perfect and right and not about praying and be present with the people. And God's been good because he's taught me many lessons along the way. I still want to know who I am, and I want to know who I am in God's eyes, and what does God need from me? And that challenges us because it means we've got to get in touch with our pain, our loneliness, our despair, our losses, our fears. All of these keep us in our brokenness. And they don't allow us to heal so that we can help heal others. Today I stand before you I sit before you actually, as a man, broken, but healing. Alive and energized because of what God is doing in and through me. I know I'm not done, and I have not done it on my own. I've done it because I have friends who stand behind me and lift me up, and people who encourage me, people who challenge me. But I spend time today in my life in prayer every day. In prayer. Not saying prayers, in prayer. I exercise, and I hate it, but I do it. I spend time in the scriptures every day. I want God's word to be what inspires me and challenges me. I spend time in counseling, not others, but for myself. I go to people, and some of them are professionals and some are not. I go to men who I respect, who have been through a lot, and I connect with their brokenness and they connect with mine. And I spend time alone. Not lonely. I have those moments. But now I spend time alone. And I'm doing what I said I was going to do. Every day I spend a little time in my garden area or taking a walk and looking at God's creation, making my prayer go beyond my regular prayer. I try to embrace my pain, and I try not to throw it at others. And every day I come up with a new pain. Every day there's a new, wow. Why did that trigger me? Why did that do that? Why did I react like that? What is it? What's going on? And I truly believe it's not our joy that connects us with the world and relationships, but it's our pain. And today was a successful day for me, because today, all my appointments and all the things I did, I actually connected. I don't always, but today I connected with some deep, deep pain and brokenness of others. And I didn't fix them. But you know what I did? I connected to them. And I think they left my office feeling more loved, feeling special, feeling God. We can't do that by texting and Facebooking. We can't even do it over the phone. We have to see that cross face to face. And we can't judge that cross that somebody else carries. We don't know what they've been through in their life. We don't know why they made the choices they made, and we can never give up hope. We have to see Jesus in them. But until we see Jesus in us, it doesn't work. When we embrace emotional healing, we see Jesus at work in our life. And so I invite you during this season of Lent to name those things. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody. Don't be afraid to get help. I mean, in our parish, we have counselors and spiritual directors, and we have leaders. Even in this room right here, there are so many women here that have been through so much that would do a much better job with you than me, because they know and they believe and they trust. Next session, next time we're together, I'm going to do, before Easter, Stations of the Cross with you. It's a special one I'm doing. I'm doing it with my pictures of Christ in the Passion, but I'm doing it with the idea that it's all about letting go. And I'm going to name things, and I'm going to ask you to let them go. I'm going to go through all the different emotional areas, and I guarantee every one of us will find one in there or more that we need to let go. Emotional healing, nobody can do it for us. It doesn't matter what you've experienced in your life. If you've had an abortion when you were young, if you've been married 5 times, if you've been an addict, if you've lost someone dear and you feel that pain, that is why he went through all of that, to tell us that the pain is important. The healing is important, and only in the pain will we come to know him as our Lord and Savior. We are broken, but we are salvageable. We are broken, and he saved us. I'm going to do just a short meditation, but I'd like to invite our hospitality ministers to go to work. I want to thank you for constantly volunteering to help us provide a great night. So thank you to all of you, and I hope some of you will sign up to help. I want to thank Bob West, too, for coming in. Videotaping this will be on our Facebook and our website at the church and on our Facebook. Great way to do is also just to share God's message with others. Believe me, there's other people out there. Okay, just give me 1 minute to close your eyes. Jesus, we know we are broken. And Lord, help us not to be afraid of the pain we hold inside. Just as you experienced the pain on the cross, we ask that you make us one with you. Help us not to be afraid to get help. Help us to trust you, to let go, to live in this present moment. May Almighty God bless you, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you, Heidi and Marlene. Thank you all for coming out.